Let's see. One thing to note is, if you're with me, as always, say hi, because if you don't say hi, I don't know that you're with me. The other thing also is, if you're on Facebook, there seems to be some issue with chatting with me. But I'm going to try and keep a couple windows open on my computer and see if, in fact, we can still get something to work here. So I'm going to go here. And I'm going to go here. I just found this out, by the way. I just kind of launched my thing and it says, hey, Facebook chat, it's fucked up. So let's go here. I'm just going to log into Facebook. Now, so I'll log into Facebook. I will be able to see something. I don't know where I'll be able to see it. Oh, gotta click on me. I'm up. No, I'm still here. I'm still here. Still here. Alright, I think I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to switch over to the chat over here and see what happens. Got it. Okay, so today I just want to talk about my live rig. I'm always humbled when someone comes up and tells me that they are really liking the sound of my guitar when I have a live gig. And so I wanted to talk about that for a little bit. I run direct, so I use a guitar processor that has all the sounds in it that I want, and then I just get a cable out of that directly into the Soundman. Soundman, not in the Soundman, but in the Soundman's console or board, whatever he's using. And that just goes straight to either the monitor, so I can hear myself. That's going to be updated, by the way, because I have my in-ear monitors now. And then, of course, that goes to the front of house so that everyone else in the world, or at least the small joint that I'm playing at, can hear me. So I wanted to show you what I'm using and how I'm using it, and kind of also show you around on the sound that I use. Because it's not that difficult, and there's not a whole lot of things you need to do if you want to do this to sound good out front. But there are some things you have to do. So, first of all, let me show you what we're going to be listening to. Today I'm using this thing. I can't show you the headstock because I might get sued if I... Not too far! Too far! I want Gibson to sue me. So I'm using a Les Paul today. The string, I actually used this last night for a gig on a whim because I'm like, I haven't played that in a long time. I'm going to play it today. So I took it out and my D string broke. And I had to play half the gig without a D string. It's always about the D, isn't it? Something's always going on with the D. Let's see here. Yeah, nothing yet. Okay. So, let me pan over here just to let you know what you'll be actually listening to. The sound's going to be coming out of my portable studio monitors. These are the iCade Multimedia iLoud micros or minis or whatever they're called. These things are phenomenal, and I like them so much I tend to rely on them a bit more than probably what most people would rely on these. 3.5-inch speaker, it's got a 1-inch tweeter, bi-amped, got built-in signal processing so that everything that comes out of it sounds kind of the way it's supposed to sound. And these things are ridiculously loud. There's a little light here. You can't really see that light. Maybe you can. When that light turns blue, that means you're kind of clipping the internals of the speaker. When it gets to that point, though, I mean, it's really loud. You can get up to the 80, 85 dB if you like to roll with that. The other thing then is, from time to time, I will try to pan. No, I've run out of the room. Anyway. That's part of my rig. That's part of my rig. And really, that's all I use. It's the Digitech RP1000. It's an all-in-one floor unit. Let me see if I can just tilt this a little bit more. Let me see if I can do this. Is that illegal? That is not going to work. But I'm going to do this. There you go. Look at that. That's still not going to work. But that's pretty much all there is. There's 2 rows of buttons on this thing. There's numbers 1 through 5 on the bottom and the 6 to 10 on the top. There's 2 ways to use it. Also, there's a rocker pedal, which you see, which I use that for the wall. Let me get this back up to here now. There's 2 ways to use the buttons. You can have 1 through 5 be a channel selector, so that will select my presets. And then 6 through 10 can toggle on and off effects. So the first effect, number 6, is the compressor. You can cut it in and out. Next is distortion or overdrive, and you have chorus, modulation effects. There's also the pitch tuning is in that block. There's a delay block, and then there's a reverb block. So when it comes to the effects, you're kind of stuck with those 5 effects plus the wah. So I guess that's 6. And you're also stuck with them in that order. Now, when I bought this, I kind of thought that's okay with me because there's enough sounds in here that I kind of know what's going on. Like, it comes with like a lot of compressor pedals and distortion pedals and modulation pedals and delays and reverbs and amp heads and cabinets. There's enough of them where it's like, you have to wonder, like, if you owned all that stuff, would you be happy? Probably. So that's why I got this one, because the order of effects really weren't that important to me for live situations. And I got the bigger one, because the RP 5000 only has 5 buttons, so you're kind of stuck with a little bit less functionality. I think sound-wise, it's pretty much the same. This one might have a few different things in it that one does not. So let's get started. This is my sound that I use. I call it "I Kill You," and it's number 3. Let me make sure here. Yep, it's my 3rd one. This is what it sounds like. It's a pretty basic sound. I'm going to go through the entire sound set so you know what I have on here. Now, here's one thing I don't like about this unit anymore. It's discontinued, and they don't have a current version of this or anything else that is similar to this. It kind of upsets me because I've been using Digitech processors probably since like the late 80s or something like that. I think the first one I had was a GSP 21, and then I went from the 21 to the 21 Pro, and then to the 21 Legend. And then I went through this phase. I still had it, but went through this phase. I'm like, I just want an amp. I want an amp to play through. And so I went through a series of small practice amps because I really didn't need anything big. I'm not a big fan of big amps. And none of this really did what I wanted them to do, so I stuck with the Legend for a long time. Finally sold that and got the GSP 2120, which is the 2-size rack mount, 2-space rack mount unit. It's got 2 tubes in it. Most of the videos you've seen me in the other room is what I've been using for that. The problem with that playing live, and I've used it live before, it's just kind of heavy. It's in that Gator case, the Gator box, and it's a little unwieldy to wield around. So this unit was the replacement to that. Gave me all the sounds I wanted. Gave me modeled sounds, whereas the other one, which I think still sounds better because of the tubes, doesn't have modeled sounds, but this one's got modeling in it. It's easy. You want a Marshall? Pick a Marshall. You want a Carvin amp? Pick a Carvin amp. Most of them are in here. Alright. So, that's what it sounds like. And again, this is coming through the iCat, the iCat Multimedia. I don't know if you can hear that or not, and hopefully you can. Let's see. Go to me. in Facebook? Where's me in Facebook? I'm hoping this is working. It says it is. It's giving me a countdown. Connected to the restream. Normally people are with me by now. Alright, so I'm going to go through the stuff in here so that you can kind of see what is what. And I'm going to tell you what it is because I can't get the camera down far enough so that you can see what I'm doing. Oh, by the way, because it's discontinued, the software that I can put on my computer to control it, which is a whole lot easier to use, doesn't work anymore. So I'm stuck with this. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is go into the edit mode and I will tell you about the stuff that I use. Alright, so for the compressor, I'm going to click that on for a moment. So the compressor is on. The sustain, I kind of keep it 99. So with the sustain on, with the compressor on, not going to vibrate. It does a fairly good job of being able to sustain. And somewhere it'll tell me what sustainer I'm using. Let's see here. The tone is at 50, the attack's at 0, and the compression level is at 99. So I have that also set at 99 because if I turn the compressor off and then turn it on, because the compressor takes a signal like this and compresses it, I got to bring it up a little bit to kind of match. Sometimes it'll even sound a little bit louder depending on what it's being pushed through. And that's fine too. Hit the compressor, get a little bit of boost at the same time. No problem with that. So that's where that is. The next thing then is the distortion. So I just turn the distortion, let me turn it off. Let me turn that off. That's no distortion. And it's with distortion. So the parameters for the distortion then, I got the gain. The gain, this is an overdrive, and this is a model of a tube screamer. I got the gain at 71%. The tone at 50. And the level at 99. So, with the tube screamer though, this is one thing I might want to change. There's two ways to work with a tube screamer that works well. The first is you crank the level all the way up, which mine is. But then you take the gain and you pull it all the way down. Because you're not caring about the gain in the tube screamer. You just want to push the front end of the amp. So if I add some of the gain back, you'll hear, I'm going to crank the gain all the way up and take the level down now. This is how Mark Tremonti does it, gain up, level down. Well, that ain't going to work. Why? Because I need some level. Keep the level at 50. So you can kind of hear hopefully you can hear some of the difference there. With the gain all the way up, you're actually introducing the gain component of the tube screamer, which is that overdrive sound, and you're not just using it to drive the front end of the amp. So it's a little, it breaks up. I'm not a big fan of that breakup sound, so I'm going to take my overdrive to 50. Just take the overdrive halfway in, and now I'm gonna dime the level though. I like that. Kind of like that. So what I did there was I just took the gain and brought it down a little bit. It's a little bit tighter actually. If I turn it off, we have this. If I chug, if I turn it on, a little bit tighter in the low end, which is good. I like that. All right, next we're going to talk about the amp in the cabinet. So I have a JCM 900. Now, to let you know, I'm not a big fan of the JCM 900s because the JCM 900 is the same thing as the JCM 800, but with a diode for extra distortion. So, I'm not a big fan of that. So, I still pick it though because there's a way I can kind of make it sound less like a 900 and more like a 900 XL. So if you want to know what a 900 XL sounds like, listen to some of the Galactic Cowboy stuff that what's his name is on. Oh, I forget his name. Please don't be watching this. If you anyway, some of the Galactic Cowboy stuff. That's a Marshall JCM 900 XL. So with the XL, the Jim Walter is trying to get a hold of me. With the XL, they replaced the diode with another tube in the preamp stage, so it sounds much better. And I'll try to show you on here as best I can what I do to compensate for that. So with the 900, I've got the amp gain, and I'm going to peg it so you can hear what that sounds like. That's pegged. Not a big fan of using a lot of gain on my amps. You'll see if I bring the gain down, I'm going to bring it down to about 50. Alright, so brought it down to 50. This is what it sounds like. Almost sounds the same. Because I'm hitting the strings really hard. The EMG actives also help with kind of evening that out. But with the lower gain setting, your playing is going to be a lot better. I'm out of tune. Still a little bit out of tune. So anyway, that is tip number one. If you want to use something like this and sound good out front, and I say this because a lot of sound men are like, they don't want to use my stuff because they're like, you can tell it sounds fake, and it doesn't sound all that good, it sounds really thin, and I think a lot of that is because people may not know how to use something like this. They find a preset that sounds good in their bedroom, which all of the presets are generally going to be kind of hyped presets, right? They're not going to be like real world presets. They're going to be ones that kind of hype everything up, so you can kind of have an idea of what you can do, not what you should do though. So with that in mind, keep the gain on the amp low. You will have a much better time with it if you keep the amp gain low. Or, I mean, just don't crank it. Don't dial it all the way up. You don't need that dialed shit. Alright, next thing on here is going to be My bass. Bass is important. Bass is very important. I do something on this unit that I don't do on a real amp, and that is I dime the bass. So the bass is all the way up at 10. I'll tell you why in a moment. The mids are at 5.5. Treble's at 7.3. So I'm actually going to mess with that a little bit. Just see if I can find something better. Keeping the bass up. I'm going to take the mids down. So 5 is going to be mid down. I'm going to try 4. Take the treble. That's too much on the treble side. I'm going to take the treble to like maybe 6. There we go. I kind of like that. Let's see if I can add, let's see, how's that? You know what? I think I'm going to run that with that. I got my mids scooped a little bit and my treble hyped up a little bit. And my amp level's at like 44. I kind of like that. I'm going to keep it there. So, the bass. Why do I have my bass at 10? The reason I have my bass at 10 is because... Also, I want to make sure that you guys are still with me here. This is bugging me. Like I have a feeling shit ain't working. I want to make sure shit is working. Yeah, alright, I'm live. Shit's working. The reason I have my bass at 10, when Al Mason got his tube Marshall, he was using like a something 100, which was a solid state 100 watt amp. It didn't sound too bad. I mean, the way that he played made it sound good. But then it was a Shaky Jane, was selling some shit. So he bought a tube head, a 900, and a 412 cabinet. He was using a 410 cabinet before. And it sounded really good. When we were working with the sound to see what to do, for some reason on that 900 that he had, it sounded best with the bass all the way up, the mid scooped down a little bit, and the treble up a little bit, but not jacked. The bass was the only thing that was jacked, and the reason for that is this: he played so loud. The bass being turned up all the way was just kind of like having normal bass. When you have your amp up so loud, I'm not a big fan of loud amps, but if you have your amp so loud, the speaker cone isn't able to freely move as much as it wants to reproduce what you're trying to give it. That's freaky looking. So it's so loud that the bass in the speaker cone is going to kind of be chopped off a little bit. It's going to be compressed, not compressed, but there's just so much cone movement that you can have in the speaker cone. So for him, that sounded really good, and I just kind of kept that here because I do kind of like that low end impression. I like it. Now the one thing I'll tell front of house soundman is, hey, just run me flat, and if you want, drop off, shove off like 100 hertz and below. That helps with the low end bass coming out front, which can keep it a little bit muddy out front, but I got a trick for that too. Alright, so that's the amp. Next is the equalizer. Alright, this is important. So, the equalizer is off right now. I'm going to turn it on. Look at that. Turn that shit on. Low level, 0. Mid level, 3. High level, 0. So I got the mids up a little bit here now. Can't say as I like that. Let me turn that off. I like that much better. But what I do is I scoop out some of the low mids. When you take some of the low mids out, that kind of helps with the EQ out front. The low mids for me are dirty frequencies that no one really should have. Sometimes if I'm recording something, I'll keep some low mids in there, but I find a lot of times I'm taking the low mids, just kind of dialing them out a little bit. For me, it helps to kind of clean up the sound, and I want a good clean sound coming out front, but I don't have to have the front of house person try to figure out how to get me to sound good. I try to get me to sound good in here, so that when I give him that signal, again, keep the EQ flat, dump 100 hertz and down, and you should be good. So that's the EQ. Alright, next, noise gate. Noise gate is good, it's on. Chorus and effects. The only effect that I have on this is like a phaser or something. And I think I'll use that for the Collective Soul song that we do. And I think I also used it with, well, with some delay. Used to use it with Firewoman. Got some feedback. People didn't like that, so sometimes I don't use that with Firewoman. I just dial down the input gain and do it that way. So for that, I'm not a big fan of modulation. If I do want to use modulation, I have another preset in here that's got a univibe. I do like the univibe. I will kick it on every now and then. So right now, no modulation. That's the other key. You don't need to over-modulate. You don't need a thick chorus on to get a good sound out front. Sometimes that stuff kind of gets in the way. Now, if you're in a small band, though, modulation is good. A little chorus is good if you are the only guitar player, like in a three-piece band. Alex Lifeson, I think. Okay, I get this idea from him. If you add some chorus when you're soloing or something like that, you can help bridge the sonic gap between the guitar and the bass. Guitar's up here, bass is down there. That chorus kind of helps to even out the gaps there, so it doesn't sound too thin. So think about that. But I wouldn't use chorus all the time. For me, not a good idea. Next is delay. The delay on here is pretty much the same delay that Al used, and that's a 600 millisecond delay. And I think the delay that I have on here has a little bit of diffusion on the delay, so it's not an even sound that's down. It's kind of diffused a little bit, so it sounds a little bit more realistic. I would probably try to diffuse that a little bit more. Let's see what parameters I have. I got time, 600 milliseconds. We talked about the repeat is at 18. There we go. So I got a whoa of 1, a quarter, and a half. Delay level. Huh. I may not have that option here anymore. The other thing I like about this delay is if I keep it on for a song, it doesn't really get in the way. And it also helps to thicken up the sound a little bit. So I'll do that towards the end of the song if I want to stop with a good something like that. But for the most part, it works. It works to keep it on at a lower level. Tip number 2, we're getting now to the reverb. Keep your reverb off. Reverb is good in certain situations. If you're playing in rock and metal, I don't think reverb is a very good idea. You don't need a sound that's swimming in things to sound good. And I actually think that if you have a sound that is swimming in things, you're masking a lot of the tone from your hands and the guitar. and the amp setup. A lot of stuff there is being missed. Reverb can help you to kind of even things out when it comes to stuff like that. I'd rather work a little bit harder to get a good clean sound and good clean technique as best as I can. I'm not the best in the world. Probably not even the best in my room right now. And that's not to say that people that use reverb are lazy. I'm not saying that at all. But for me to describe to you how I use this thing to get the sound man a good clean signal so I sound good up front, no reverb. If they want to have some reverb, that's fine. I got no problem with that. The reverb that's on here, just in case I do kick it on, sounds like this. Turn the delay off. It's a pretty short delay, delayed reverb. Nah, just a short reverb. And I got that from George Lynch. My old Digitech unit had a reverse reverb on it. It sounded cool and it made my guitar sound just like George Lynch. I didn't sound like George Lynch, but my guitar playing, the whole other thing sounded like George Lynch. So if you want, that short reverb is cool for that. I'm out of tune. I just got new strings on today, by the way, because I broke a string. So as we all know, it takes a little time for that to get fixed. So that short reverb is useful because it adds not so much an environment or some sort of soundscape, but it adds a little bit of character to it. My guitar is no longer swimming in it though, right? That's all it is. But then again, why not just do this? To me, it sounds much better up front. And I got some of that idea also. Actually, I've never liked reverb, but the one album that I liked because of that was King's X, Faith, Love, Hope. Because everything in that album was so in your face. And there wasn't a whole lot of reverb on the guitar, I don't think. And there's some other things that sounded really good without a lot of reverb. Some of the new stuff didn't have a lot of reverb, I don't think. If so, some studio reverb maybe. But reverb on the amp head for me is useless unless I am playing something that is soundscapey. So if I'm doing something, let me get to here. Turn my reverb on, get my delay on. Playing something that is a soundscape, then I'll go ahead and use reverb. If not, I'm not doing it. Next thing then is the expression pedal. So the way it works on this is it's toe heavy, but I do know I want to make a change there. So let me get to my expression pedal and I gotta go to the wall. Is that right? Wah. Wah is on. Kind of rocking out with my hand. Let's see what options we have for the wah. Just the preset level. Somewhere is a way where I can determine how much sweep I want. So let's see if I can find that. I'm going to go down to the expression now. And the parameter levels of the amp gain, heel value, toe value. I have no idea where that is. Somewhere it's there. Maybe this is the shitty thing that the software is good for. That doesn't work. So I guess I'll keep it where it is. The problem though is that it's very. Here's the heel, which sounds pretty good. But when I get to toe heel heavy, toe heavy is like this. Like really quickly thins out. And I'd much rather stop it somewhere around there, but not where it kind of gets too thin. I thought there was a way that I could do that. It's probably in the instruction manual somewhere. Expression. Oh, I know. Let's go back to the expression. And I'm going to wah pedal. There we go. And then I'm going to wah min 0. There we go. Wah max is at 9. It's jacked up. So let's see if I take that to 50 to see what happens. Let's take it down to 20. See what happens there. Okay, a little bit more usable. Alright. Let's take it 30. I like even numbers. Pro tip, even numbers. I'm going to leave it at 32. There we go. I'm going to play with that for a bit. See if I like that. I kind of like the way that sounds already. Let's go back to here. Alright, so let's make sure that I am ready to save this shit. And bass. Ooh. I forgot to save it before. Haha. Keys off. Noise gate. Chorus. Off. Chorus off. Alright, so I'm going to store this in the same spot. Name it. Store it as number 3. And something's wrong. Ah! Edit. Wah. Off. Much better. I'm storing it with the wah off because if I store it with the wah on, then the wah is on all the time. So now my rocker pedal becomes an amp gain. So I can have something like that all the way up to where I decide it is, and the max gain on the rocker pedal is the max gain that I like on the amp. And again, it's not a lot of high gain on that. If I push down on the toe, turn the wall on. So the rocker pedal does a couple things there at the same time. So that is my live rig setup for my rock sound. I got some other sounds on here. We can talk about them. The first one I use a lot. This one I do use reverb on. Is my acoustic sim. Oh, I just realized I can strum with my emergency bracelet. I like that. Couple different sounds. This is my cool chorus. A little bit of Cliff Eberhardt there for ye. Alright, that's my cool chorus. Later on I got my Univibe version of that. So if I click on my Univibe, we got this, people. And the last thing there is just another acoustic sim. If I go up, then I got another acoustic sim. These are not as loud. Here's a plexi. These presets aren't that loud though. Let's get you. That's fucking loud. What I'm going to do is mess with the tone library. So I'm going to go to the tone library, which is an easy way just to set your tone. If I scroll, there's different tone libraries that I can use for different pedals and whatnot. So there's distortion, there's a hot rat, there's a sustainer, there's a fuzz, over easy, dirty 2, rock 1, rock 2. And some of these tone libraries also have they set everything for you, like your wah, your delay, your distortion pedal, your compressor. Let me go back to another one here. Let me turn that one up a little bit so you can hear it, because I don't mind messing with this one. Alright, so go to Tone Library. Here's what overdraw sounds like. Here's what distortion sounds like. Hot rat. Sustainer. Fuzz. Oh. Orizi. Rock 1. Which I kind of like. Rock 2. Blues, metals, here's a metal. There we go. Metal 2. It's kind of like an 80s thing. Country 1. Yeehaw! Country 2! Yeehaw! Warm Driv. So anyway, if you have one of these, the Tone Library is a pretty good way of kind of getting through and finding just easy ways of finding stuff you might like. Here's the lead sound. That got really loud real quick. Alright, so anyway, that's my shtick. This is how I get a good sound, and I'm always humbled when someone comes up and asks me like, what amp do I use? Because I don't use an amp. I don't use a cabinet. Someone actually came up during a gig, during a benefit gig, and they came up and kind of looked around me, kind of, you know, what's he using? He goes, what are you using? And I'm just like, I'm using this. And he seemed pretty pleased with the results, and this is someone who has a ton of really good equipment. So I felt good and very humbled that day, but also very accomplished that I was able to do this. So anyway, that's what I got. If you got questions, let me know. Unfortunately, the question thing doesn't work on here, which bugs me. I want it to work, and it don't work. The aggregate. Alright, so I'm just going to noodle for a little bit. I'm going to go back to my thing, kick on my distortion and my delay. Turn that shit down first. There we go. I don't like loud. Do not like loud. Alright, I gotta go. I'm tired. Bye, everybody.